Let's get Titagarh Wagons in then. That's the company we're focusing on. And we've got Umesh Chaudhary, who's Managing Director of the company, joining us on the show from Kolkata. Now, Mr. Chaudhary, to begin with, Q3 has been a very average quarter for you, with both top line and bottom line witnessing flat growth. If you could just take us to the reasons for why that was?
No, there is no decline if you compare the results vis-a-vis the previous quarter of the corresponding year or the corresponding quarter of the previous year. We have pretty much maintained the same amount of turnover, the top line or the bottom line approximately. And this is in spite of the very delayed release of wagon orders from the railways, as a result of which you could see the peers have had a huge decline on both top and bottom line. Whereas because of our diverse product mix and some of the private orders that we were able to execute, we've been able to maintain the top line and the bottom line.
And Mr. Chaudhary, what does your current order book look like?
We have an order book of around 700 to 750 crores. We just got the new orders from the railways recently. And as of now, our current order book is around 700-750 crores.
Afternoon, Mr. Chaudhary. So in the coming quarters, are you expecting to bag any government orders? Because there were also some government orders that were pending and that were provisioned in the last budget. So what's the update on that as well?
No, the last year budget said there were 18,000 wagons would be purchased, and that's the order that got delayed. Out of the 18,000, some 3,000 was given to the railway workshops and PSUs, and 15,000 was bought from the industry. And that order eventually got released only end of January 2012. As a result of which the Q3 of FY12 has been under a lot of pressure. And we were not able to show the same kind of growth as we showed in Q1 and Q2 of the current year. But Q3 has remained pretty much flat vis-a-vis the last year. At the same time, while it has remained flat, we are contented that we were able to hold the numbers without really having to suffer a decline in spite of this huge delay on orders.
And what's the margin outlook like going forward? Do you expect that we can see an uptick in margins going forward?
Not really. You see, our margins, I have always mentioned or maintained that our EBITDA margins on an average have been between 15%. Sometimes it's 1% or 1.5% lower. Sometimes it's a couple of percentage points higher. That entirely depends upon the product mix and the type of wagons that we are executing. But on a longer range, if you look at a 3-year, 5-year horizon, our margin levels are around 15%. So our industry is pretty much a top-line growth-driven industry. Of course, when we do some of the specialized equipments like we do for the defense, etc., there we get a higher margin. But then those numbers are not very large. And it's more the value addition that we get there.
Mr. Chaudhary, now there has been talk for some time now about setting up a dedicated freight corridor. If you could take us to how this is expected to benefit you.
Absolutely. A dedicated freight corridor, once it is introduced and commissioned, it is going to be a very big thing for the wagon industry. If you look at the Vision 2020 document that the railways have drawn out, it says that they will have to add 290,000 wagons, that is 290,000 wagons in the 10 years between 2010 and 2020. What they have actually added in the first 2 years is hardly about 30,000 wagons, which is an average of 15,000. So it is going to be back-ended. The addition of wagons in the railway system is going to be back-ended or back-loaded, and I believe that the requirement of wagons have to go up. If they are targeting the 1,300 million ton movement or even close to that in the next 3 years, then they have to add wagons in a much higher later pace than what they have been doing now.
Right, so Mr. Chaudhary, in light of what you just said, what are your expectations from the upcoming rail budget?
Absolutely. Every year before the budget, all the expectations are there, and they have to a great extent in the last few years got delivered. And we have the similar expectations this time. We are hoping that the new projects in terms of the new lines will be introduced, new wagons will be acquired, and so on.
And give us an idea as to how your French subsidiary has performed in the third quarter.
We have not declared the results for the quarter of the subsidiary, have we? But the subsidiary has been doing reasonably well. We have bagged a cumulative of almost $45 million or even more. I think about 50 million euros of orders in the last year. A substantial part of it has got executed. Some of it is under execution. So I would say that the initial 2-3 quarters of teething trouble that we had with the subsidiary, things have started falling into place. The productivity has increased. We are being able to outsource some of the work from India. So that was one of our objectives, that we could get the costs in France down by outsourcing some components from India, and that has successfully started as well. So on the whole, I would say that the French subsidiary would start showing a positive number from the coming fiscal.
And going forward, what are the capex plans that you've lined out for FY13?
We don't have any extraordinary capex plans except for inorganic growth that we might come across. We know, if you look at our company's history, we have always been open to new opportunities. We started as a vanilla wagon manufacturing company, but then we moved into wagons. We acquired the Hyderabad Industries heavy engineering unit. We acquired the French company. We acquired Simco. So all of that. So if there are any further opportunities that we come across, and then if we envisage that there is a potential in that, we will obviously look at capexes in there. But as far as the regular business is concerned, apart from the regular capex that would not be substantial, we really do not see a major capex being made into the existing businesses.